See if anybody's on here. I know it's a short notice, but I wanted to make sure that I came back. Um, it's been I said I was gonna come back, and I had a little bit later than I was gonna do. But anyway, I'm here now. See if anybody coming through. If anybody want to come through and chat, had to take care of a little video just now. Had to do that little Fat Joe, Chris Brown, Michael Jackson, that comical video. And it just went up. So you should be seeing that video fairly soon. I had to tear off into Fat Joe with that mess. But I am here live now. Now let's see if anybody want to chat and see what they want to talk about. If anybody come out here, let's talk. If I don't get nobody here, I will cut this short to about 20 minutes to a half. If people come on and want to talk, I'm here for an hour at least. Back to normal scheduled programming, probably maybe tomorrow. We shall see what we're working with. I shall see what's up. But anyway, here right now, so let's see who comes through. Let's see who wants to talk. I'm sure there's a lot of the heads gonna come in here. If they do come in here, we're gonna talk about the NBA Finals. Um, it really wasn't much of a finals. There was a couple close games, but Boston was clearly the better team. And then there's a lot of other debates that I gotta take on with that because some people want to talk about, um, Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. And I think that I saw Stephen A. Smith today, and he said he's got Tatum at top 5 and Brown at 15. So it really doesn't change the narrative of where they rank, but it was big. They would have to Paul Pierce. They would have to win. I'm going to talk about this Celtic team, and some people are going to ask about their ranking and all that. But they got women. They won. They worked. They worked hard. They came through. Um, they earned what they got. Can't take nothing away from them. Joe Mazzulla did a great job. Um, and that's the key. That's the key. Very important. Um, but it's going to be a lot of debates about that. Some people are asking about the organization that they got more titles. Um, how they does this, with the Lakers, the most rings, all that and all that other stuff. My thoughts are like this. I'm doing good. How you doing? Glad you came through. What's up? Glad the crew's coming through. I'm getting ready to get live and into it. I got here for a good hour. So we're gonna sit here and chop it up. I'm doing good. I'm sure y'all want to get thoughts and takes about the Celtics winning it all, and let's get into it. I watched the heads talking. People got thoughts and takes about Tatum and Brown, and yeah, but I know, I know, I know. I hope that don't disappoint you. I mean, they got a chance, not because they're. And I'm gonna say this. Um, Yeah, I was fine with it. Why wouldn't I be? Hey, the first two games, especially the first game. Did you see him the first game? He came out and I thought he was like Superman. He came out swatting and dunking. And he came out on a mission game one. That's the way Lucas should have came out. Jalen came out like he meant business. He came out like he wanted to make a statement. So I ain't got no problem with it. If Tatum, if that series had gone 6 games, and I think Tatum was starting to cook, they probably would have flipped it because it was fairly close. But them first 2 games was the giveaway. I think if Dallas took that to 6 or 7, they probably give it to Tatum. It ain't heated to me because Jalen Brown. The problem is, you know what the problem is? Because Tatum is the anointed one. Yeah, hit that like button. Appreciate it. He's the anointed one. He's the one they got in the top 5 as the most important non-American player. That's why. Jalen is seen more in the 12 to 15 range, or maybe 10, 15 range. He ain't seen in the same light. That's a fact. That's the reason why it's out there. But it's not heated with me. He outplayed him. His energy was the difference in them first 2 games. especially that first game. I mean, he came out like gangbusters, hanging on the rim and blocking shots, and he made a statement. He cooled off in game 4, and then last game he was alright, you know. But them first 2, 3 games, he still definitely made a statement. That's where he won it. But it don't really even matter because people don't even hold it. It don't really matter who wins MVP Finals MVP in Celtic land. Does anybody ever debate about Cornbread Maxwell is one of the greatest players ever? No. You only think about Larry Bird winning 3 chips. You never bring up Cedric Maxwell as a Finals MVP. So, and the debate is also like kind of like it's kind of like when I made that statement about um would Jalen Brown be more closer to Chauncey Billups or be more closer to Dwayne Wade by winning? See, so I told you that. That was the turning point of the whole. I know you went on about Dallas acquiring the draft. I mean the trades, but Drew Holiday turned out to be, yeah, he's in that Robert Ory, James Posey, that dude that you get at the right time. He just that dude. He's that dude. I understand why they did it in Milwaukee because he did kind of fall off and they needed some offensive firepower, but I wouldn't let him go. I wouldn't let him go. But Giannis didn't pull the LeBron and now it don't look too good. Flipping your coaches and you went from a team that could have been a contender to a pretender. And only because of his reputation and stats, you know. But because you trade him to Saudi Arabia, that's why. Remember what I was telling you about Saudi Arabia? That's what that meant. Oh, okay, great question. They win this series, but it probably goes 6 or 7 against Dallas. No, no. Um, if you took them out the 2021 Bucks, no, they don't win. That was a turning point because Chris Paul got old after game 2, if you remember, and Devin Booker got some hit in the hip, and he wasn't the same dude. So now I think he's impactful in this series because he was impactful in game 2, and he was definitely impactful in the playoffs. But I think they could have won without him, but it'd be a little bit tougher. He was impactful, so I'm not gonna take it away. But what he did for Milwaukee was more impactful because he was playing alongside Giannis. There's a big difference when you're. It's like the Porzingis argument. It's a big difference when you are the second or third option as opposed to a fourth or fifth, but you haven't had one of them nights, and that's what he had with Boston. Because it's a combination that kind of falls in the flow. I don't think he's borderline HOF unless he wins another ring. He wins another ring, gets a little more on his stats, because you have to check and see how many points he's got for his career. If he's closing in near 15 to 20,000 points, assists is up, and they win another chip, then yeah. So he's like a better offensive version of Rondo. And Rondo's not a Hall of Famer. Pains me to say because I'm a big Rondo fan. And Rondo won with Boston, and Rondo won with the Lakers. And he was instrumental. Oh yeah, black coaches probably don't like it because of the opportunities they're not going to get. Yeah, there people been saying stuff to Stephen A. I'm sure of it. They're not looking at Mark Jackson at all. They're not looking at a Rondo. They're not looking at you know, 2008 Celtics. Because I don't think they were gonna stop Paul Pierce. And Paul Pierce, remember, he D'd up on Kobe. You gonna tell me that Jason Tatum is matching that Kobe that era? I don't think so. And Garnett banging with Gasol and them, and Ray Allen and Rondo? I don't think so. Yeah, Andrew Bynum was a bust. He got to Philly and he just went bowling or something. I think they beat them. Iggy, because again, I like Drew, but Iggy hit big shots. Iggy had to defend against LeBron. Iggy was a guy who got better. Yeah. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Now, it's two different things to compare. Holiday is big, but you gotta remember what all Iggy had to do. And you gotta remember how Iggy came to Golden State. And then he ended up being on a team that went to the finals with the Heat. He always was in the right place, right time, and he got smarter. I think Iggy, but Drew's a bad dude though. Yeah, James Posey was on fire for him. He was the junior whopper, Robert Ory. But I don't be playing all you. You taking me back into guys that I don't. I'm taking Nick because TB was good for. They both Spurs, but Van Exel, that Dallas run wasn't bad. I like TB all right, but I'm giving Nick out them too. But I'm just concentrate on this Celtic that 018. I think Doc Rivers would have figured out certain things. Joe, because you got to remember something. The Celtics do give you games now, and that Boston team. I was don't forget Sam Cassell was playing too. So I think they I think they win against the Celtics team that just won last night. I do because they had size and they had everything. I think they balance it out. I think they balance it out. You know, but you got to remember Paul Pierce was effective as heck in the finals. So I think that would have been a problem for this Celtic team. I do. Oh God, here we got to think about. God, I can't think offhand. What would I take? I got to take the 03 Spurs. Come on now. And I tell you why, because Ginobili and Parker were coming into their own, and Duncan was scary then. So, and remember, it went 7 games in 13. So I can't imagine they weren't gonna make that kind of mistake. Well, they were young. They were young, and they were against a team that was more fundamentally sound. Nick and Eddie was tough on defense, but his offensive game wasn't as matured. Um, Nick, again, I liked his slashing and his dashing, but Stockton would you get exposed. Um, um, Jerry Sloan would have drew something up. They would have figured that out. I don't know what this is, Ellis Taylor. So yeah, he was. 2013 Heat were battle tested, but Tim Duncan 03 was not to be messed with. So that's the reason why I'm not gonna go against him then. Because that was peak prime Duncan. And remember, he won his ring. He was winning his rings. Well, regardless of what he was, that's not the part. That's not the part. The thing is that Stockton was a better guard, and Hornacek is an underrated dude. So um, there was guard play, there was maturation, there was structure. And remember who was coaching the Lakers then. I remember, and I was sad too. That's why I think the Spurs would have beat the Heat. Because you gotta remember something. I didn't even bring that up, Ted. Thank you for bringing it up. Well, that's when Shaq could just on the off still put up 28 and 13, was tearing you behind him. You're not beating that Spurs team. Not that one. Mm-mm. 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 Not the way Duncan was playing. And you still had Dave Robinson in that final. So now they beat the 2013 Heat. I remember 2013 Heat needed everything to beat the 2013 version. So the 2003 Spurs would win. Tim Duncan was beasting. Ginobili was coming on. So, yeah. Yeah. But Steven Jackson. But I'm just saying that Spurs team in '03, I think they beat the Heat in 2013. I hate to say it. I don't want to say it, but I gotta give him credit too. I tell you all the time that after Shaq, Duncan was my dude back then, and it's hard to go against that dude. That dude was bringing it. His body started hitting, but he still was coming. They didn't. They wasn't the reason why they lost in 2003 or 2004. His numbers were still there. What happened was, obviously, he was more motivated and things that happened. But I think also the core was getting exposed. Fish and Rick Fox were getting exposed too. That's why they went and got Gary Payton and Karl Malone, who were like 68 and 69 respectively. But the 2004, he still was effective against Detroit. They just didn't. They just didn't have any flow. And the bench was 8 out. Bench was 8 out, 8 up. 2003, it still was close to winning that. Because I want to say Savario Mika, was it Mika Dinko who missed that one shot in game 5? They almost won that one game. They almost came back in San Antonio. And then they got 8 up in game 6. You know why they're so tough? Because they drain you. Because you're playing the equivalent of 2 extra seasons. Yeah, Wade and Shaq got hurt. Game 6, and they got to game 7. Sheed played great. He was on the perimeter in game 7 in Miami. But they got hurt. They were banged up. And Stan Van Gundy got out coached. Because, Larry Brown, he figured out a way with what was going on. But yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, but he came back in 2006. Don't act like you just skipped over 2006. They were, I remember, because they won in Detroit. And he got hurt in game 6. And Detroit played some good defense in game 7. He played all right. It's just that Sheed hit some big shots. Sheed was hitting on the 3-point line. They were versatile. Yeah. I remember that game because that's the day the Michael Jackson verdict came in. Golden State's gonna win that. You gotta remember how great Miami had to come back against Dallas, and Wade played out of his mind. But I don't know if Wade could have took on Steph Curry, who could have been a Finals MVP, and Durant, who was a Finals MVP. I don't know if you can do that, and I don't know if Shaq, who was still good, Alonzo Mourning was effective too. I don't know if they would have had enough to beat that Warrior team, though. And then remember Klay Thompson. I don't know. White Chocolate coming off the bench, Gary Payton. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you got to kind of leave a team that was great for their era right where they are. Because putting up against a team that has superior talent overall. And remember, that was one Dirk Nowitzki and you had Josh Howard, but you didn't really have a lot of firepower on that Dallas team compared to that Golden State team. So everybody knew that Golden State team was not fair. But they did what they did. That's why they were special. So now I'm not gonna say nothing crazy because he's a Heat fan. I'm not gonna say nothing crazy. You're not gonna get me to say nothing stupid. And it would be dumb for me to think that they're gonna beat that Golden State team. I'm not gonna say what Paul Pierce is saying today, where he's trying to put everybody. You know what? By default, because the East is so weak. And you gotta remember the West, everybody beat up on each other because everybody can do it. That's the only reason. Not because they're a great team. I think they're gonna be, ironically, they're gonna be a victim of kind of having it easy. And they did earn what they got, but because there is not enough competition, unless of course Philadelphia, and I'm not talking about getting on Paul George, that ain't it. And you know, um I'm not, Milwaukee has to get better. Um um they got I think it's gonna be tough for them to come out the East. They on the rise, but um I don't know if that's a team that can threaten. You gotta remember what you just asked me. You talking about one team that can repeat, and you talking about a team on the rise. Well, a lot of teams in the East are on the rise, but can they beat this team. Well, you do get lucky when you win. Now the Kawhi thing, because in the Western Conference Final in Game One, that was now I'll give you that. That one I'll give you because that was a cheap shot. But truly hit him in the leg. They were getting their butt waxed, and then after he got knocked out, they came back and won. I'll give you that. But the CP3 ain't exactly no threat. They didn't finish. Houston should have won that series, and Klay Thompson ate their butt up, and then that was it. But you do get breaks when you are a successful franchise. That's just par for the course. You do. But yes, Boston can repeat. Then I'd be sad for him to go elsewhere. Thank you. I know what y'all trying to say, but really, at this stage, I don't know. I like it. I like yeah, they missed a ton, and that was embarrassing. And you know, they missed their chance. You know, but that CP3 wasn't the same as the Kawhi thing. I think San Antonio could have probably beaten Golden State or definitely took it 7. The Rockets, and you know they were going to lose. They were going to lose somehow with CP3 because CP3 is like one of the most cursed postseason people I've ever seen in my life. Well, you must have you in the city of Houston because I didn't see it. I'm gonna tell you why because now with James Harden and just you right he should have and Lord knows he had a chance. And he's one of those guys that you kind of wonder why wasn't it meant to be? Because you would have thought it would have been. But I tell you, like I tell anybody, don't take these guys as runs for granted because don't let LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kawhi and Durant and them. He always does. He be at the club. He gives you two. What's his postseason? He give you two great games, and then he has some other games where his tummy's all full and he can't. He's hanging over the toilet or hanging over the sink, and then he does that. He's done it for years. That's nothing new. He did it with Philly last year. Did it with the Clippers. It's typical Harding. He gets in, give you a couple games, and he checks out, and you forget all about him. He's partying. That's why I can't take him serious. One of the freakiest offensive players I've ever seen, but also one of the most overrated. And that's why I was thinking, I hope Luca don't turn into the white foreign version of him because that's what put me in the frame of mind of. No, no, that don't usually happen. There's only a handful of guys like that, but his is more noticeable. You know, yeah, because the players loved him. He had it like that. I mean, he had that kind of, and there's also was some jealousy with him and Steph Curry. That's what it was because he felt he belonged in the conversation. But the problem with Harding is that he just didn't take care of himself. And he wanted to party and have a good time and do everything but play ball. So now he's where he's at. He got old quick. He's what? Some nights he's a second or third option, but usually he's now, yeah, that's all he is. And he really ain't that dude no more. He looked old and busted with Brooklyn. He hated being in Philly. You know, I saw some of the highlights of it. You know, I think the media should go ahead and let them actually play ball and stop trying to pit it and see the best one comes out of it. But you know, Caitlin Clark's got growing pains. She ain't gonna be what they want overnight. That takes time. Angel Reese is still working on her game. You know, there's things that you got to work on, but it takes time. But I don't like how they, you know, I caught some of the latter part of the game. Clark was actually disciplined on the perimeter for a change. She made some good passes in the game. Angel Reese had some nice drives too. But it's a lot of work though. She ain't gonna get no love. She had a couple nice shots and nice passes in that game, Clark did. No, Angel ain't getting no love. Mm-mm. That's why winning is can be considered overrated too. Because, they holding it against her. We don't live in a just, fair world. We see it all the time. She did pretty good in spurts. Yeah, well, they can bring an enforcer. That ain't gonna make the difference. The team still is like almost 10 games under 500. What's an enforcer gonna do? That ain't playing no defense. How did enforcer work with Michael Jordan with Charles Oakley? Were they going to the Eastern Conference Championship Finals? No. Were they a threat to win a chip? No. You get an enforcer, but you got to have guys who can score, pretty much. They're going to jail with them, but, she got to learn how to come off her high and mighty and play with her teammates. She just getting the what we call the rookie reality. That's all. Ain't got nothing else to do with nothing else. You young and all that, so you know how it goes with that. Yeah, Lisa Leslie was something else. So what y'all did y'all see Paul Pierce? She got to get stronger, and she has to also learn how to post, repost, get more fundamental. Trying to do what Steph Curry did when he was already a made man or a great. Steph worked on that, but Steph also got stronger. Steph also had pieces in place. Oh, Paul Pierce came out with yeah, I remember the sparks in the comments. Paul Pierce came out with the trophy and his greenery. It's hilarious. I'll say this. If you never knew that Shannon Sharp was there, it ain't bad when he's on the set. He's saving Skip. I think it's little too late though, but it's good though. He's good. He's entertaining. As a matter of fact, if I could get Paul Pierce and Wiles, because you could get Wiles from over there with Paul Pierce, that could be a funny duo. Because Wiles is hilarious. He got to sit there with Chris Broussard and Nick Wrong all the time. But I like Wiles a lot. Wiles and Paul Pierce are my two favorites over there. The rest of them folks, you can stir them in a bowl together. Yeah, Wiles be cracking me up. He's got the kind of snark I like. He's everything that Skip can't pull off and everything that if Mad Dog Russo has some personality with what he tries to do. Oh, Brian Windhorst. Windhorst, I saw him. He was talking about him. He's riding for Luca, and he says, "I got so much, see so much in him." I was watching that too. He stunk. You want the whole hard hitting truth? He stunk. Because aside from playing really good, I think he came up big in game 3. And I remember Jaylen Brown. That was cold. That's one of the most straightforward but coldest things I ever heard. Because Jalen said, "Yeah, that was vintage Kyrie. Wasn't enough, but," and I was like, "Ooh," but it was true. Well, he has to because Luca is the face of the NBA today. Luca is where LeBron was. And all that talk about Stephen A. Smith talking about LeBron is still top 6 or so, get out of here with that. Luca is everything LeBron couldn't do. And let me say what I mean by that. Luca don't play no defense, but Luca is scary enough to get that team to the finals. Now, if he was to come in and be as focused as LeBron, get his body tight, get his mind right, and take the all of the season, because don't pull the Shaq until you done already been through it. Shaq did that, but Shaq had already established it. Luka, you ain't established that drive. Gotta establish it. He established that drive. He gonna win him a ring. LeBron is old news. He's old news. Hate to tell you Laker fans that, but you already know it, whether you want to admit it or not. He's old news. He ain't where these guys are today. And he ain't winning no more rings unless he go back to the East. You already know. I ain't gotta tell you nothing that you don't already know. But the Kyrie was disappointing. It's like Boston really got in his head and he really couldn't concentrate. He didn't tune it out. His cadence was off. Um, I still believed in him, and I know he had some moments, but he just wasn't really. It was disengaged, and that's not the first time in that building. Because when they got swept when he was with Brooklyn, they stripped his pockets down, and Durant too. So that's not the first time he looked bad against Boston. He has not looked really good against Boston. He's got like one win after all those. So it's almost like there's some kind of curse or something going on there with him. But he did shut up a lot of people. He did get to a finals with Luka. That's to be commemorated. He did prove that he could go far without LeBron and Durant too. So he's got that going for him. Now, what can he do coming forth? Because I do think they will build on it. But they got to get a third. They got to get a legit third scorer and a fourth option. That's a great thing. I heard about that, and it's a great thing because he gets some discipline on them. That's what they need. Yeah, I did a video about the two, and he did, but he won't get the love for it. That everybody was romanticizing Luca because he could do what he do and understand. And Missoula kept throwing bodies at the Mavericks. He basically Lively came up big, but PJ Washington wasn't no factor, and your boy Tim Hardaway Jr. So for that one game, Missoula kept throwing bodies, kept throwing pieces, kept throwing places. Yeah, I did the video on that, but my video didn't get a lot of love because no one cares, but it will come back in time. Oh, I made a highlight of it because you don't see it. You don't see it. You don't. And I don't know why. Because even though it's all a lot of brothers playing, ain't a lot of black head coaches. Not like that. And to tell you something that's gonna make you really turn your tummy. The Lakers have never had an African American head coach win a chip. They don't have to highlight it. I highlighted it. I did my video about it. I made it point clear about that. I don't, I know the ESPN plantation ain't gonna talk about it because they're not. What you mean what? What you mean what? The Lakers never had a black head coach win a chip. Boston has had Missoula, Bill Russell, and Casey Jones. What you mean what? Pat Riley ain't black, is he? Phil Jackson ain't black, is he? And Pat Riley got 4 rings with the Lakers. Phil got 5. That's 9, right? I don't make this stuff up. When I talk about this stuff, oh, they do. They do. Because the East is weak and Brown and Tatum are gonna stick around and they're young. They got a chance to be like a baby version of Golden State. But in a more traditional way because these guys play defense, they score, and they get pieces in places. That's the difference. But I'm not gonna compare them to what Clay and Steph did because they're not the same. But they got a chance to win another ring or two as long as the East doesn't get tough. If the East stays the way it is, they could definitely represent for a couple more times. Because now they've been the one they lost one, they won one. That's 2 in the last 4 or 5 years, and they always knock on the door at the Eastern Conference Finals. So the worst case scenario, the Eastern Conference Finals. So as long as they're camping out there in May, they got a chance. But unless of course Adam Silver gets on the horn and wants to make the parity more. But there is parity in the NBA because I will explain. Denver beat the Lakers, beat them by style. Minnesota beat Denver, got them by style. Dallas beat Minnesota, got them by style. and Boston. So you see there is parity. Now, does that mean Kendrick Perkins says he doesn't see a back to back run up for a while, teams winning back to back? And I think that could be true because you had different teams win ever since Toronto beat Golden State. So we will see. Yeah, I saw the highlights of him. I saw that knockout. Tank looked pretty good. It looked good. He's what the fighting game needs. I might do a video about it. I might. He's what they need. There's always one that comes around. Yeah. But can he have some personality and can he get people into it, especially in the late days of the MMA era? I think, well, they've been the haunted. Let me go tell you why. Because Miami beat them, right? Got the two finals by beating them. But Boston was in the Eastern Conference Finals. Follow what I'm saying. The knock I had against Tatum and Brown is they couldn't seal the deal. They'd only been to one finals before this year and won, right? So 2017 LeBron beats who? 2020 Miami beats who? Milwaukee beat who? Well, they beat Atlanta, but anyway, who beat Boston last year? Think about it. There's three times in the last decade that if they win the Eastern Conference Finals, they're in the finals. So think about it. They've been the hunted. They've been the best team. They've been the team you had to go through. Miami got them twice. But think about it. Milwaukee only went once. Toronto went once. After Cleveland. So think about it. Bucks need defense. I think Porzingis is on his last legs. I think they're gonna try to run him one more time, but I think that's about it. If he's not there, they're gonna have to let him roll. But he'll have to take a role as a secondary. Yeah, but the thing about Al Horford is this: the way he plays, he's not gonna get overexposed. So he's enough to hold his position. He could play a couple more years. I think he could play a couple more years. They got the way they got it, he won't get exposed. Um, the Bucks got to get an identity. Doc has to emphasize defense. They have to emphasize how they're going to utilize. I think they got to utilize Lopez far more. Dame can't be just shooting target threes at the logo. He got to, they got to find a way, and they got to get some bench players. They got to change their philosophy. I don't know if they can beat Boston. No, they have to get a move where they get some kind of defense. They have to get more defense, and yeah, I think that's what's messing with them. He got a little high and mighty, and now they're just another team. I'm gonna say it, and I hate to say this: it's Boston's East to win or lose, unless I see some moves, and I got to see some concrete moves. I got to see something that goes whoa. Like Philly need to make a move, Milwaukee need to make a move, Miami got to make a move, New York need to make a move. So whoever comes and can make a move, I know Orlando's getting on the next level. Yeah, because they're trying to do what they're gonna do with Jimmy. They need Drew, but they also need a bench. See, if those cats on the Pacers were available and you could sprinkle some of the Pacers to the Knicks or to the Bucks or to the Sixers, or to Miami a couple, then Boston's got some problems. That's a problem. That's a problem. Oh, they need Drew, but Drew wouldn't go back. He wouldn't have no reason to. He's loved in Boston. He gonna get all the sandwiches he wants. That wouldn't help him. That wouldn't help him. They're not beating Boston with them two. Not at this stage. Take them 6, 7 games, but they're not beating them. Paul George never was, and LeBron's older, man. Yeah, this was about 5, 6 years ago, yeah, but now, no, he too old. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Wear and tear. Besides, the the West only got old men for those teams to go back east. This ain't gonna. You ain't turning back the clock. I don't even care if maybe if Steph was available. That's about the only thing that you got that's old cat that could probably go to the East and maybe sway things a little bit. But LeBron, Kawhi, um, Durant, nobody wants to see those cats being hired hands at this stage. And if they get beat by Boston, they'll look bad. He got no choice. Next year, him and Zion got somebody got to come up. It's not so much about shutting the critics up as much as he's got to shut up the stupidity that he self inflicted on himself. Because he too got too much going for him to self destruct. That's the most important thing. That's what I hope he do. Because I like Ja a lot, but it can't be done. Kawhi, because he did it with a muscular strength. And you had, and he spaced you with his dribble. His was very organic. I like Kobe's fadeaway in the corners. I like Kobe's long range. He shoot that long top. But Kawhi, oh yeah, Kawhi is one of the most underrated, underappreciated talents. Like I said before, he got that. He's got no one to blame but himself. Like you miss 50, 11 games every. You know, people forget how great you were. Because when he's on, he's on. And he was a pure shooter. Kobe's driving ability and then long range shots, and of course he did a lot of different type of shooting. But Kawhi, oh yeah. But yeah, are you East Coast? Are you East fans and you don't like the Celtics? You better go get on the horn, make something happen, make something happen because that's the only way Boston doesn't come out. I knew you gonna pick him. You know, you didn't ask me who I thought was a better player, and it was just the mid range. But I thought Kawhi's game was nice. Yeah, but he can't cut them injuries though. That's the thing. It's a shame too. I don't know if he could cut those injuries down. Um, Thank you. What pieces do the Mavs need? Well, you let me answer. When you they need well, what y'all say about Caitlin Clark? They need an enforcer. They were letting Boston hang all on the rim. Porzingis, Jalen was hanging on the rim. Tatum. They need somebody to put some. You know what they need. Ted ain't gonna like what I'm gonna say, so cover your ears. They need a goon, but they need. You know what they need. If the Lakers were to break up what they got, but you'd have to gut out your team, Anthony Davis with Luca and Kyrie. Then they win. And he gets in his rightful position. Dre who? Dre who? Uh Thanks, Ted, but the all star oh yeah, yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, yeah. Anthony Davis. Not no Dre. Dre too old and he needs to have a team that's stacked. Dallas ain't stacked. That's why they got beat because they were a two-man team basically. Now you gotta have about 3, 4 deep. But AD with Luca and Kyrie, or or if Cat became expandable in Minnesota, what's happening? Happening, Ben? Miami gonna go for that. And Bam might love playing for the Lakers, maybe, but that would mean that means that's the end of two franchises there. I think so. What? I think so. What? AD in Miami, you got to have somebody that can score to cover him. Bam needs someone to cover him, and he doesn't really fit Laker type of culture, style wise, as a player. I think what? What's the question? Now, because AD's hurt too much, and AD is not a top tier dude. If George Karl calls AD a fraud as a superstar, what do you think Pat Riley's thinking? No, you'd have to have somebody in lined up in Miami with AD to cover him. I think AD though with Luka and Kyrie would be scary. Or if AD could get to Houston with Udoka style. Gotta go somewhere where he could be the big fish, you know. I'd have to have him be more direct. I think they should run the offense through him. I think they should make him be the second option because that's the only way I can answer that question. That could draw some interest. That could definitely be an intriguing matchup. But Tibbs would probably wear his butt out, and I don't. You got to remember who the coach is. And Tibbs is known for burying cats, offensive minded coach players, too. So that's the only problem. Tibbs is crazy because he wore Brunson out. He doesn't have a filter as far as that. Yeah, Maxi, I'd make him the first option. I think they got to consider that because um, don't say that because somebody will come along here and say how great somebody is on that team. You got to be careful when you say that one, Ted. You wake up somebody, anything that involves that team. Now, I like him with the last person you named, but not with Trey. I just don't feel that Trey situation at all. I don't. I got a feeling Trey would be worse than Russell Westbrook would be for the Lakers and in that situation. Those fans are correct. And if you know what I mean when I use my term bum, bum by means he's a bum. And let me tell you why. If he feels like being great, he'll be great. If he really wants to be good, he'll be really good. But sometimes he settled for average. Had he showed consistency, he might still be with the Lakers today. He just doesn't. He just settles for them outside shots. He kind of noodles around. He had some games where he be beasting, but then he had some other games where you're kind of like scratching your head, like, okay. Oddest Julius Randle I've seen. Yeah, he made the All Star team, and he was there with Wilborn and Steven. I saw that. But if he doesn't play like Brunson plays, you gonna tell me that Randall plays like Brunson? If he played like that, then I would say, okay, Randall got some chance to be scary. It's not that kind of vibe I get from him. He. My definition of bum is a guy who could be better. Tibbs Moore is worse than Nick Nurse because Nick Nurse has never had an MVP. Well, the thing with Joel Embiid is he that's just his DNA. Tibbs is notorious for that. But Nick Nurse also gets results. To be honest with you, Tibbs to me is kind of underachieving now. Yeah, he gets to another round, but the way they lost to the Pacers, he got out coached. And he doesn't utilize his pieces. He's got to be a lot smarter. Subtlety. Nick Nurse is going by what he's got, which he ain't got a lot. Because I told you about when Tobias Harris becomes an option, and you're in trouble. Kelly Oubre was all right, but when B gets hurt, Maxey gets hurt, and they really are desperate. And so they look down the line and they just don't have the pieces. So, um, but he does coach his guys up. And I do believe Nick Nurse will be a great fit with Philly. I do. Tibbs is just a guy who self destructs. And you can't be running all the minutes and you got a 7-man rotation, especially when you depend on shooting the rock and you're trying to play D. So there's a fine line there. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I think he gets out coached. That's a compliment because most of the time he just stays being blue. Fourth option. Tobias Harris is like the fourth guy on the four tops. You don't really think about him. That's what he do. Paying a lot of money for a fourth option, dude. He been riding, taking your money. But that's what y'all want. So I, I didn't clown Tobias enough. I'm not mad at whoever his agent. They gangster. You paying him like he's a second option. You hoping that he'll wake up and play like a first. But most nights you get the third, and you definitely get the fourth slot. What is he doing? Then he got the nerve to say he wants to go back to Detroit. And Detroit season is over when Kwanzaa starts. Give me a break. But that's what he said, so make it make sense though. Buddy Hill was on a milk carton, so what do you expect? We'd all forgot Buddy Hill was even still around. You got a better chance of asking somebody, do you know Buddy Holly, than you know Buddy Hill at this stage. Come on now. And Buddy Hill, I forgot all about him. I for real. If they had been who he played with Shaq and Charles and Kenny and Ernie, I'd have been stomped. I forgot all about him. He brought that on himself. So yeah. But anyway, Philly's got a lot of decisions to make if they want to make a statement. So we'll see. You need to ask Ted about Adam Morrison. The only thing I remember, when you asking me that, you were like, I remember when he was trying to get in the photos when they won the back-to-back rings because they was telling him to come to the photos. What was that? When they beat the Celtics and he was running to get in the photo shot. That's the only thing I remember. His 2 points and him running to get in the photo. Yeah, that's a shame. Of course, I remember when Gonzaga. Because when he was in Gonzaga, I remember he cried when they lost. When you say Dirk, are you talking about Dirk Diggler? Have you ever seen the movie Boogie Nights? Are you talking about that Dirk? You talking about that Dirk, right? You ain't talking about that Dallas Dirk. You talking about that Dirk Diggler, right? That's the only Dirk because of the mustache. That's the one you got to be talking about. You ain't. I know they were. And before you think I'm don't know, yeah, I'm trolling. I'm trolling. Thank you, Ted. Ted got it. I'm trolling. That's the only Dirk I thought of. that Dirk Diggler. Uh, yeah, I remember when he was Gonzaga. Gonzaga used to get beat up, and they always get the 8, get beat up by the East Coast. Somebody beat him up. He crying. Real good, nice passing game, and he was good in college. And I'm gonna tell you something. If he was coming along today, he'd have been on that Caitlin Clark tip too, cause he was big in college. They loved him. You know, he looked like he was 32 when he came out. He had big bushy hair and the mustache. He was, but you know, but yeah. Only thing I remember about him with the Lakers was the photo op. That was it. So I got the long sleeve, yo. So that should tell you something. It's breezy. They did, and then they would go back east, get manhandled, because teams used to get physical with them. That's what happened. They always had a good program. It's just, you know, they were kind of like the James Harding of college basketball teams. Stats be there and they play, but they couldn't do nothing when it come money time. They beat some teams and they could get beat. Yeah, it happens. It happens. I mean, you gotta remember something. The thing about college zone is that eventually cats ain't gonna make shots, and so they get in transition and they get exposed. So he was. I mean, when he blocked that shot, no three, when he looked good. He looked good. He was balling. He was balling. He could have made the case he could have been the cold rookie of the year. He came out, you know, but you know, he, yeah, well, probably did. I don't know. That might be a video to you because off, the, that might be a video. I mean, they're the obvious ones. Shashesky, Wooden, those two. Bobby Knight, unfortunately. Um, and then I got to think about in my lifetime, you have to put Rick Pitino, Dean Smith. That's five right there. Um, you make a case for Hurley. You can make a case for Billy Donovan. They won multiple rings. I'm not gonna do that. I do that on a video. That's too long. The question I would ask any if you want to say who would be your starting center, and then we can go from there. That's the big one. Who you debate? Do you take Shaq? Do you take Kareem? Because I can't take Wilt for that. I think he could be considered a top 10 Laker. Yeah, well, no. Outside of Shaq and Kareem, as far as centers go. We always know. We always know Magic's gonna be there. We know Kobe's gonna be there. Then we get into, well, do you put Elgin Baylor or Jerry West? So it all depends on how you want to look at it. I could make that case right there. Yeah. And I just make it right there without putting positions because I'd have to, you know, get Shaq, Magic, Kobe, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West. I'm gonna leave somebody out. James Worthy had to come off my bench. Kareem too. So there you go. Okay. So there it is. I really don't even think about that though, but yeah. So do you think the Celtics or the Lakers are the greatest franchise? I mean, you know, even this 18 to 17, where you come down on it? Because that's like the big thing going now too. No, you think they both equal? And I did see where Keyshawn Johnson was like, I don't care about nothing 1800s. And I'm gonna do a video about that too. Because I thought that I know. I mean, I heard you say that it I like Al Horford, but I'm not gonna make a big deal about him getting a ring. I mean, I like Al. Because I go back when he was in Florida. Him and Joker, no, Joker Noah. But it doesn't make or break his career though. It's just like he got it. That's all. So good for him. I'm glad that they, like I said before, they were the better team and they won. So Okay. All right. So you never asked. Nobody asked me a question about the Celtics or the Lakers. But most people don't work with Joel Embiid. You take that how you want to take it. I've done some watching. He's kind of complicated cat. I'm working on more reasons why. Well, in my lifetime, it's the '80s Celtics. Yes, they do. Boston's not old. Boston old in terms of success, yeah. The Russell one. But that's '80s Celtics teams was something else. Yeah, but if he went to the Mavericks, you have to give up everybody except for well, he probably could. As long as you keep Luca and Kyrie, he would. I wouldn't put nothing past it if they were being smart in LA. Because you gotta know you're not building a team around Anthony Davis when LeBron is done. You're not. That's why if I'm LeBron and AD, I feel bad because I don't know about that. I don't know. If I put Bill Russell, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale could be in there. Oh, God. I don't know. 'Cause Sam and Casey Jones, I don't know. That's hard to say. It's hard to say. Hard to say. It's hard to say. For what though? And he's injury prone. If he wasn't injury prone, I might say yeah. If but the Rockets, do they have what Brunson needs though? See, that's the problem that you run into. That's the problem. Okay, I got 7 more minutes, so let's make them count. Let's see if y'all got any more questions. Because I got to go get me some to eat. Let's see. Robinson Duncan. No, that's not the same. Samson and Hakeem weren't great, but they did get to a finals. They didn't get all they got with it. They were there. Paul and Bonham were there, but it wasn't as effective as it could have been. No, the Robinson Duncan thing was the best I've seen of that bunch, far and away. Far and away. Sampson and Hakeem predated it, but Robinson Duncan made it something. Embiid and Harford, because Al Horford was an outside shooter, and he got his footing with Boston the best way he could, and I didn't see it working. Because to be honest with you, I haven't seen a better twin tower in the modern era since Robinson and Duncan. And I'm talking the last 35, 40 years. So, because you basically still need a guard play and stuff. You call them facts what, Ted? Do too. I haven't seen anything better than Robinson and Duncan as far as we talking about these two big trees. I've seen other teams try it, but come on now. Deron Williams, come on now. Deron was considered one of the three best guards. John Wall could run and was fast, but what did he do that was memorable except do that Best Buy commercial? And I forgot all about his career. I really did. I really forgot about John Wall. But Deron moved me back in Utah, even though he ran slow now. But he came in with Baron. That's not even for discussion because Barron was MVP consideration. Barron just got hurt and a lot of things worked against him. He played in a tougher era too. Deron could have been better though, but he didn't work on it. I like Darren all right, but Barron moved me more. So we used to call him B Diddy. Ain't gonna say that no more, but he wasn't. He used to be known as B Diddy. I remember when Barron put his butt on Dirk's uh on his sides, elbowed him in the hip, just put his cheek on his hip, and Dirk like he just had his worst nightmare. They got physical with him. I remember that. I remember that. That's when you had upsets. That's when you had, you know, they were ready for you. Yeah, Barron. One thing I liked about him, he never backed down for nobody. I liked how he played. Just got hurt and he didn't have the right squads. That's the only reason why he ain't gonna be remembered bigger. But he was tough though. He was tough. I remember that too. I did until he messed up with the Spurs and he thought he was better than he was. And he did cost them another ring because they could have used him. But he was good, but he wasn't great because he always made stuff difficult. Steven Jackson did, and always wanted to kind of thug it out. Just didn't play his role right. And, guy could play, but then he got into other things which just ran him off. Okay, well, the first one I'm taking Prime D Rose. Come on, D Rose was something else. Second one I'm taking Penny. D Rose was like Westbrook without a real shot, but he was physical and he gave you a lot of moves, and he was really something else. He was real wormy like. But no, Penny was a better player though. So Westbrook was tough, but D Rose could do all that with less, you know. But Penny was better than them too, though. Just got hurt. That's all. Okay. Yeah, Steven Jackson's one of those guys that you'll have a love hate relationship even now. Because I watched all that smoke. Sometimes he's on point, sometimes he off. He still act like that. I see exactly why Pop felt like he did with him. Because when I'm dealing with him on his form, he's sometime he cool and sometime he funny time. I don't know. So that's how I feel about him. But I do believe if he'd have stayed there playing the small forward position, they probably win another ring with him. Probably would have had six. They missed him a particular point in the middle O's, but he acted crazy, so let him go to Indiana. All right, now I'm good for one more question before I gotta roll. So, has anybody got any one last request or anything? Probably back tomorrow night. Try to be. If not, definitely Thursday. Well, let me say two things to that. They didn't show Jerry West no love the way they should have. They can't really get a wake up call to the Celtics because Tatum and Brown are younger. And Joe Mazzulla got a chance to work his magic. And you got rid of Darvin Ham. So you're looking for things that have nothing to do with basketball. If you're going after JJ Redick, Yeah, I know they about winning rings. They ain't passed you up in rings. They passed you up psychologically that they are a team for a run. You're not a team for the run. Forget about trying to catch them in rings. How about your future? That's the question. Can you get better post LeBron James or with AD? And if your answer to that is no, then you ain't catching them no time soon. That's the problem you run into. Don't worry about being a ring behind them. How about you're going to be a decade behind them if you don't make some moves and stop trading all your assets to accommodate an old, failing player and a young who's old, failing player too? That's what you got to ask yourself. If I'm a Laker fan, I ain't worried about what the Celtics did. I'm thinking about Jerry West, but I ain't thinking about what they did because we gotta get to figure out we gonna get or we gonna stay in this to try to act like we gonna manipulate what we got, or we gonna try to plan for the future. If I'm the Lakers, I plan for the future. I rid myself of LeBron and AD. I might stink for 2 or 3 years, and you can clown me, but if I can get some pieces, I might attract something. I get a coach and I let him do his thing because Jason Kidd got a chance to work in Dallas. Joe Mazzulla got a chance to work in Boston. How it turned out. That's what you got to do. But all this musical chairs with your coaches, it's going to come back to bite you. So you did the passing you in rings, they're going to pass you in other things. Credibility. And I also am a firm believer. I don't even know Boston will win next year. I don't think they'll be the same team. I think we're going to see parity. Doesn't favor well for the Lakers. And you got an old team already. And LeBron's probably got 2 more years tops. Tops. So you better make the most of it if you're going to hang on to that, which I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because unless he can guarantee 2 rings, I would try to make a move. So, anyway, I guess that's the last of the question for tonight. So, appreciate everybody that came through. Thank you always. Glad to have you come through. Some great questions, great thoughts, great topics. We'll talk more about it because we're gonna be talking about the Celtics, and you know that's gonna be a hot topic for at least a few more days. I'd imagine so. You know, and we'll talk about Tatum and Brown and that basketball season, how it ended. Your thoughts? How did you think the season was? How did teams do? What you see on the rise, what you could be seeing. So anyway, appreciate everybody stopping through. Thank you as always. You know, always great to have everybody come through, no matter what the time, for how many times that they're coming through. And like I said, I'll try to be on. If I come on tomorrow, either tomorrow, I'll definitely be back on Thursday. So we'll see how things go. But anyway, appreciate everybody coming through. Have a good night. Stay up. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Stay well. Stay focused. And we'll talk about other topics too, because I got some other stuff to get into too. So till next time, peace the best. I'm off. Right on.